53 years ago. I don't care if you know the age. And we had joy 3 years ago to go back to Ethiopia and do some teacher training over there because we had a lot of background with that, and that was an amazing opportunity. So born in Ethiopia, then when I was 9 years old, we moved to New Brunswick, Canada, no, Ontario first, and that was the worst year of my life. I couldn't adjust. It was just really hard for me to figure out how to be in this North American culture after I moved here. And then, so worked my way through some of that. Had a dear lady who got brought into my life who really encouraged me, so I love older women who mentor younger women. Then from there, went to Bible college. Then got a degree in counseling, an undergrad degree in counseling, and worked for 7 years in home for youth in Greenville, New Hampshire. And then after that, God called me to come down here and get my master's degree in special education at Bob Jones University. And I taught in Greenville County for 7 years in special ed. And then the position opened back up for somebody to teach the courses that they were teaching at the university, so I was back at Bob Jones as a professor on the university faculty. And then about 10 years ago, well, almost 10 years ago, in 2010, I developed these absolute crisis symptoms where I literally I couldn't even try to go across the room. And I'm not going to get into all the details, but through a series of things I've discovered that I have this condition that I probably picked up. We found out my brother 4 years later has issues as well with the liver, and it's a good possibility it's something we picked up as kids in Ethiopia that has caused this. But what happens is I can feel really good for a little bit, and then I will absolutely crash. So I cannot do the basic 9-to-5 job. So I was moving home, and I had several people say to me, Ruth, what are you going to do next? And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And so the Lord, through them, prompted me to start doing some writing. And so the first thing we started, I did one little book to learn the publishing process with another publisher, and then it was time to start doing something on my own. And I was asking the Lord, okay, so what do we do with this? What's our audience? Who do we want to touch? And I started thinking about those girls at Boylston Home, and we would put the Bible in their hands, and they'd go, what is that? They didn't even know what it was. And my pastor used to go to Mount Calvary here in Greenville, and Pastor Minnie always used to say, put the cookies on the bottom shelf, everybody can reach them. So we wrote this book with the idea of anybody. I can hand this to an unsaved person who's interested in the Bible, or I can hand this to a brand new believer, or I can hand it to an older believer, and everybody's going to gain what God wants to out of it. That's our prayer. So what we did was we started with a theme of the faithfulness of God. So where it says, God is faithful, the Lord is faithful, faithful is He, every verse is in this book, from Genesis to Revelation, that talks about what God says about His faithfulness. So we took the verse, we explained it in its context, and then we did some kind of real life story either from my life or Rebekah's life or my friend Brenda in Texas, who I worked with at Boylston, who's also a Bob Jones grad, to make it more practical and real for real people. And then some questions at the end of each chapter to help you engage with that and think more about God's faithfulness. If you've been with the Lord for years, you're going to go way deeper in your mind than we intentionally did with this book. But if you're new to the faith, or if you know somebody who's new to the faith and they want something to help them connect with the Word of God, that's the goal of what we've done. And we want to build a whole series of things, but this is the first one we've released. And then I had another surprise where God introduced me to Rebekah, and I'll let her explain that piece of it. And we ended up doing a CD last January. That was a total surprise. And if I could tell you the whole story, that was just in your mind. It's just amazing how God set that up. And then this summer I came back in May to go to the graduation of some of my students who were at the academy, and ended up visiting with a friend of mine, and she introduced me to this other lady, who introduced me to this other lady, who was like modern day Fanny Crosby. I have over 200 of her poems. And I started reading down through them, and as soon as I did, I had tunes coming to my head. And so we took these tunes, and I just sang them real quick and sent them back to her, and she said, wow, I'd love to do something with this and put this in a CD, because that's just the kind of music I'd like to put with these words. And it was like, okay, Lord, how do we do this? And because I knew I'd have to go back to Greenville to do that, and I didn't have anywhere to stay, those kinds of things. So I can't tell you the whole story, but I'll tell you the first part of it. That was a Tuesday. I didn't talk to Rebekah. I didn't talk to anybody. I just said, Lord, you have to make it clear to me if we're supposed to do this second CD. And it would be all original music and all original words. So it was going to take some time, and I knew I'd need that time. So Tuesday. Thursday, I get this text out of the blue from this dear lady, and she says, do you happen to need a place to stay in Greenville this summer for 2 months? And I went, oh, that's a lot. And then I said, well, you know, in my mind I'm thinking, okay, this is just a little too crazy, so I'll throw a little fleece into this. do they have a piano? Because I knew we'd be spending a lot of time writing music because Rebekah was that piece. And she came back and she said, yes, they have a piano. And then it went from there, and the rest of the story is kind of amazing. So the first song that we're going to sing, after Rebekah introduces herself a little bit, is one that we are going to have that's on this new CD. And then the second one is actually the first song on this CD. And I had already told the pastor's wife here that we're going to give away one of the books and the CDs to somebody here as well. But how Rebekah's in this picture.
Hi, I'm Rebekah. I've lived in Greenville my whole life. And when I was born, I was diagnosed with epilepsy. And a lot of people don't know that because I always held it in because it's embarrassing to be different. And a couple of years ago, I had never been able to drive because of my seizures. Several years ago, I was hospitalized because I had a big seizure on Christmas Day. I don't remember anything about that day at all. I woke up in the hospital several hours later and knew something happened. But they were finally able to find a medication that controlled my seizures. So I'm 40 now, and the first time I was able to drive was when I was 36. And because I was so old when I started to drive, it was very nerve-wracking, very scary. I cried a lot. And everybody was so busy, nobody could help me drive. How many people do you know that have time to take a 36-year-old out and teach them how to drive? So I was introduced to one friend who introduced me to another friend who introduced me to Ruth. Ruth is a special ed teacher. What better person has patience and creative ways to explain things to you so that you will get it? So we spent 150 hours in the car together, and I learned how to drive, and I'm safe. And we also got to be best friends. And so through that, all those hours of spending time, I would also go over to her house, and we started singing together, and I'd bring my violin and play together, and that's where all of this came to pass. So since then, I have not been afraid to tell people that I have a disability, and I'm also an advocate now for I have several music students now that have disabilities, so that's just been really cool how God has worked all that out. So one of these songs we're going to sing for you is, the arrangement is brand new. The guy who arranged this has a disability, he's blind. So when we recorded this earlier this summer, we have his recording, we're going to play for you today, so get to hear somebody blind playing the piano for us. This song's called The Everlasting Arms. It's one of the older hymnals. It's in there by AB Simpson, but this is a new melody.
AB Simpson, if you don't know, is the founder of the Christian and Missionary Alliance. And he was actually the prince of it. I didn't realize that until we were looking at the information.
see.